Even now, my husband and I sometimes talk about conversations we had early in our marriage, when I would throw out the question, "Who will be my friend?" This question proved to be more complex than it may seem at first glance, and it took years to see how it would be the tool God used to keep my attention. Harry and I married young. I was 22, he was 24. By the time I was 27, we had 2 children, and my husband was a few years into his very first pastorate. We lived in a small, southern, rural community where most of the church members were related to each other. Sweet tea was the drink of choice. Weekend afternoons in a rocking chair on the front porch served as recreation, and the barber shop across the road from the church was the hub for catching up on the latest news or finding out where to buy a roast for Sunday dinner. When my husband received the invitation to move south from our hometown in Michigan, I had just given birth to our firstborn son, Jordan. I was holding that small baby in my hospital bed when Harry walked in one morning to tell me the church had extended an offer. Within 10 weeks, we reached a favorable agreement with our landlord, and we had Jordan dedicated in the front of the congregation at our home church. A crew from the new church drove up to Michigan, packed up a U-Haul, and took our furniture ahead of us. Then we drove for 2 days until we arrived in the driveway of this new, to us, church's parsonage. I arrived there, sight unseen. I'd been too pregnant to make the trips with Harry when he was interviewing for the job. He had done his best to describe the community, the church, the congregation, and the little white house we'd be calling home. The last 2 hours of our drive from Michigan to this gravel driveway had taken us, in the dark, around hairpin curves, up steep climbs, and then through deep descents. After successfully keeping my most recent meal from making an appearance, I now stood in the family room of the parsonage with Jordan asleep in my arms. My knees were weak, my head ached a bit, and my stomach was tender with both travel sickness and homesickness. I took in the mauve carpet and the mauve walls. I looked at our mismatched gaggle of hand-me-down furniture, piled up in front of the door so high there was barely enough space for Harry and me to stand in the entrance without a chair leg digging into our ribs. I don't know what I had imagined, but this new home at the foothills of the mountains was not it. That's for sure. "Well," I said to Harry, "you can stay here, but me and this baby are not." It wasn't home, and it wasn't homey. At least, not yet. All my friends and family were hundreds and hundreds of miles away. My stomach hadn't quite recovered from our adventurous romp over the mountain, and I was working hard to fight back the tears welling up in my eyes and the lump rising up in my throat. But my husband is not one to back down from a challenge. In addition to that, he loves his family deeply. I'm sure he must have panicked when he heard me say I wouldn't be staying in that house that night. I mean, where was I going to go? We definitely didn't have money for a hotel. And, like it or not, this place where we were standing was indeed our home. I didn't really have a choice. So right then and there, Harry started clearing that furniture away from the door. We found the crib, the mattress, some sheets, and a blanket, and laid Jordan there to finish sleeping. And slowly, the parsonage began to look like I could sleep there, after all. While Harry kept clearing a path through our stuff, I found our bed in the back bedroom. We worked late into the night. I set up our tiny bedrooms, making up the bed with our sheets and comforter. The familiar fabrics and patterns helped to settle my stomach and my soul. These items felt like home. Harry made his way back and forth from the house, out into the darkness, bringing our few additional possessions from the car into the house. Somehow, it all began to come together, and while I was still a very long way from my family and friends, my church community, and my favorite grocery store, I still had my son, sleeping peacefully in his small bedroom, and my husband, standing faithfully by my side. We did sleep in that house that night, all 3 of us, and we kept sleeping in that house. Harry served that church, and the members of the congregation loved us well. They became like family to us, and the parsonage became home. We painted, we had repairs done to the house, we made friends, we endured sickness and loss, we celebrated birthdays and anniversaries, we fell in love with the mountains and the blue skies, and